Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. So today we have my boy James right here. Very unique case study right here. He did how? What did you do in 2 months? How many
Uh,
did you do in
s-
payouts in the last 2 months?
so within the last 2 months, I've done like over a little bit over 24K in payouts. So yeah, last 2 months, 24K. So yeah,
Yeah. And the crazy thing about James as well is that your first ever payout was a five-figure payout, right?
yeah, it was a 10K payout. So that was pretty cool feeling to feel. So yeah,
Yeah. So, yeah, that is crazy because like just thinking about everybody else, like their first payouts are basically just like, maybe a couple $100 or maybe like $1,000. But seeing you went straight to like five accounts as well, right?
yeah, I was trying 5 accounts. Took me a while to actually get a payout, but I was rinsing through a lot of money with evals. So
Yeah, yeah. I mean, hey, I think it ended up being worth it at the end. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I don't really recommend this route to people. I recommend. I always am a big advocate of scaling slowly, but I mean, it ended up working out for you. And at the end of the day, like as long as you're disciplined, right? Like, maybe even if that first payout was like a fluke, right? You kind of proved yourself with that second payout, right? Being able to keep those five accounts again. You didn't end up blowing them, right? You just
yeah,
had,
nah, it was
that's
straight
yeah,
from the same accounts. So yeah.
yeah, yeah. That's beautiful right there. Yeah. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and you just walk us through your entire trading journey and just how you kind of got started, and yeah, we'll go on from there.
Yeah. So I'm 23. I went and did the whole college route. I studied mechanical engineering, graduated in mechanical engineering, but going to college, I really knew I didn't really want to do mechanical engineering as like my career, and it was school was always kind of like a plan B if things didn't work out. I always had like a entrepreneurial mindset, and I just didn't really know exactly what I want to do. Like as an entrepreneur, I just knew I wanted to be like my own boss. So while I'm in college, I think it was end of 2021, so a while back, I actually find trading and I find Forex, and I try Forex for a while, and I never really have success with that. I'm not really taking it too serious throughout my college career. And then I end up graduating college end of 2025, and I'm pretty lost in that moment because, I don't really have a job lined up. I'm working, but I don't really have a job in my field that I studied. And I wanted to really make trading work, but I didn't really have success for the past 3 years. So I want to start using prop firms, and all the prop firm traders were using futures at the time. And I get into trying to learn prop firm or futures at least. And that's where I find TJR, learn all the basics from TJR, pass my first eval in February, and then I blow that account within like 2 days. And then takes me a while. It takes me like 4 months to actually pass some evals. And I go straight into drawdown again, and I start, doubting myself, telling myself, damn, I'm probably, going to blow these accounts again. And so I try to chill out, trading those XFAs. I draw my ego, and I start looking for a mentor actually. And that's where I find AB. He at the time he didn't really have a paid mentorship. I was still following along with him. He had a free Discord, and then a he started his paid mentorship. And I thought this was my chance. Actually find a mentor that knows what they're doing, that actually had success with prop firms. So I pay for his Discord, get a lifetime access to his Discord, just because I know this is a long term career that I want to do. So I decided to invest that into him, learn his strategy, and then I actually end up still blowing my accounts again. And I go into pretty big depression, pretty big like mental issues, and I was ready to give up trading. So I decided to, give it one last shot. I told myself, I blew this counts. It's not the strategy. It clearly works with other people. The strategy works. It's a more me problem, a psychological issue. So I tell myself, let me just truly lock in. Let me follow my rules, be disciplined, try to really do what disciplined traders do. And so I go into my next evals, pass those accounts with true discipline, being patient, waiting for good setups, and I told myself, okay, I've been in this position before where I've passed evals. It's just actually getting a payout is the hard part. So I go into those XFAs with good discipline and end up taking good trades. Takes me about a month to get to my first actual payout, and it was a 10K payout. So that was a pretty big feeling. It was like the best feeling that I've ever had in a while. And ever since then, it's been kind of like a snowball effect that, I've proven that I know what works. It's all just truly locking in, following your rules. And I just took out my second payout, and it was a 14K payout. And I've been working this whole time, but now that, I've truly felt like I've gone I know how to, trade and all that. I put in my 2 weeks at my job. So I'll
Wow, I
be
didn't
day
even know that.
trading.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I'll be day trading full time and just doing, social media. I've been, documenting my whole journey trading futures since on YouTube since the beginning of this year. So, you know, documenting that whole journey was cool, and just seeing the come up from where I started, just looking back on it, it's just pretty cool. So yeah, that's kind of the story that I've had so far.
Yeah, yeah. And by the way, I'll also leave his YouTube in the description, so go ahead and check it out. Go and support my boy. Um, and yeah, I mean that is honestly pretty crazy. I didn't even know that you ended up putting in your 2 weeks. So what where were you working? Or what was your
Uh,
type of work?
so I was working in fast food, in the fast food industry in California. So, fast food minimum wage is like 20, and I was getting tips on top of that. So since I was out of school, I was working a good amount of hours, but half of my, paychecks were going towards evals when I was still learning. And I told myself, if I get consistent, back to back, 5-figure months, I'd end up leaving my job. And, I got my two back to back 5-figure months, and I wanted to go into 2026, with a fresh start with, just day trading full time, not having to really work a minimum wage job like that. So yeah, it's surreal. I've been working there for a while now. So yeah.
Yeah, no, that is pretty crazy. I mean, you've established the proof of concept, right? Now it's just really just building on that momentum. But one thing that I do want to say, not only to you but to like everybody else out there, right? It's all cool, being able to like quit your job and like going all in on something that you truly want to do. But you also have to understand, is that okay? Is this really legit, right? You need to understand if this is really legit. Like you need to actually establish the proof of concept. You can't really go out on a limb on things like these. You need to understand, do you actually know what you're doing, right? Or is it just market conditions being favorable for you, to where you're just on a hot streak, and understanding how you got your payouts as well, right? I see a lot of people, they fall into this trap, um, of them getting a few payouts because they're on a crazy win streak, and they don't really know how to handle losses. They don't know how to react off of losses, and the moment they take a loss, right, they end up blowing their accounts. And then they have to go through the whole eval cycle again, and then build up their balance and do the same thing over and over again, and that's how they end up getting stuck in a loop. But I remember you, on the other hand, one thing that you really stuck with was journaling. So I saw in the Discord you had a journal, like a in my Discord. Basically, we have like this entire like journal section where members can create their own separate like personal journals, and they can document their trades and do all that stuff. So James was probably like one of the only members that was like consistently doing it, like one of the few members that was consistently journaling. So talk to me more, and talk to me more about how journaling has like completely changed your trading.
Yeah, so journaling's really, really important. It kind of just helps you reflect on the trades that you take. So, yeah, AB's when I joined this Discord, I wasn't really journaling before that. And if I did journal, I wasn't really journaling my thoughts. I was kind of just uploading like what trades I took, not really reflecting on them. So when I joined his Discord, I was journaling. He had a little section where, you can journal every day. And yeah, I just started uploading my trades, and I was, kind of just going over how the trade helped or why I took the trade and all that. But what really helped me was kind of just talking about my actual emotions during my journaling. Kind of if the trade didn't follow my setup, I would talk about why exactly I took it. And most reasons are, if you're taking a trade that doesn't follow your setup, it's stemming from a psychological issue. And for me, those issues were, I was getting greedy, I was impatient, or I was just FOMOing and wanting to try and, pass an eval or just trying to get a payout quick. And so I really had to just, instead of just saying, I had impatience or, I was getting greedy, I really had to like write down exactly why I was having those issues. And for me, I was just being impatient. I was writing down, asking myself, why am I being impatient? And I was just being impatient because I was out of college already. I was really trying to make this work. My parents were, bugging me about, what am I going to do? Trading's not really working out. They're really doubting me. And so I just really had to journal those, really conquer the issues, the psychological issues that I had. And journaling was a way for me to just get down my thoughts, really be able to, look back on them, reflect, really see what's the issue with my trading, why am I, having issues. And now I just kind of use journaling as a way to, just really be able to calm myself. Sometimes if I, take a loss, I'll calm myself down, talk to myself in the journal, tell myself, hey, you've gone payout before, you know what's a good setup, you know what you need to be doing. Don't let this loss affect you, so on and so on. So that's how I like to journal. And AB really introduced me to the importance of journaling. And, you know, yeah.
Yeah, like the great thing about journaling, I've said this in I think like a previous case study as well. The real art, the beauty about journaling is that it kind of like reveals who you are as a person. It reveals your like your insecurities, the struggles that you're dealing with. It reveals all of that stuff, right? Once you actually kind of open up to yourself, you're able to not only understand your trading a lot more, but you're also able to understand you as a person as well. So I think when people journal, their kind of concept of journaling is just documenting their trades, and not really journaling their emotions. And I think journaling your emotions, especially in trading, because trading is heavy psychological based, right? It's heavily relies on on psychology, right? And if you're not really aware of your emotions, then you can have the perfect strategy. You can uh, I guess follow the system, follow the rules for a certain period of time. But what do you do when that system breaks? What do you do when you have a tilt day, right? Are you going to let that um, take over the rest of your trading days, or are you going to do something about it and make sure you're mitigating those tilt days, mitigating those crash out days, right? And how are you going to do that? By journaling, right? Um, and that's what I've discovered, especially start of the year for me personally, January 2025 all the way to December now. My trading truly has transformed, not only just me being, you know, better psychologically, but understanding, my tendencies as well, right? The type of trades that I take. And it's also allowed me to tap a little bit more into my discretion, right? Because me forward testing and collecting a whole year's worth of data now, I've collected data from January all the way to December. Every single trade, all eval trades, all XFA trades, every single trade. It could be a trade that I missed, even that I hesitated on. I knew I should have taken it. I didn't take it. It could be a trade that doesn't follow my system. It could be a trade that followed my system. All of these were in my journal, and that is what defines like your true win rate, right? Because a lot of people, they'll just pick and choose what to journal, but you're just cheating yourself. You're not really you're cheating yourself, right? You're not really putting in the work that is required to become a consistently profitable trader. Um, and that's what I noticed with you, right? You did the complete opposite of that, right? You actually held yourself accountable, because I remember going through your journal entries. I'll actually put them up somewhere here on the screen so you guys can see what he was journaling, and the amount of entries that he was putting in. Like, James was actually, journaling consistently, and there's a reason why he's seeing success, right? It's not some sort of fluke. Um, and this is what I tell you guys all the time as well, right? Journal and reflect. Journal, reflect, and backtest if you're a beginner, if you're an intermediate, if you're new to a strategy. You need to do all of these things. Now, moving on from this, I want to talk more about um, how you were feeling after your first payout, and kind of like the pressure or whatever that you were feeling in going from securing your first payout to your second payout.
So yeah, getting my first payout was, a surreal feeling because, when I got my first payout, it was kind of like all the hard work, all the like the mental battles that I had to face leading up to like that first payout was it was yeah, surreal feeling that I knew not a lot of people get payouts and it just took a lot of hard work. So when I got to that first payout feeling, I was actually pretty happy that I felt like I passed and got that actual first payout with good discipline. I was actually taking good setups. It wasn't, just off a lucky trade and all that. So after that first payout, I had to, really talk to myself. I built my balance up to a 4K balance on my 5 counts and took out 2K from each. So when I had that 2K balance left, I only had 2,000 drawdown again. So I realized I only really need $2,000 to build it back up to a 4K balance if I want to take another 10K payout. And I had $2,000 left to work with. So all I did was tell myself that I just need to follow the same rules that I did to get to my first payout. Don't, only take the best quality setups. Don't get greedy or FOMO into trades. Just follow the same rules that got me to my first payout. Just be patient with it and you'll get to your next payout. So that's exactly what I did is I just followed my rules with my going on to my next payout. And yeah, it led me to, grow my account. I got to my 4K balance again and I started debating if I wanted to take out 10K or not or try to build it up. So I decided, try to build up that balance a little bit more. I reached a point to where I got all the way up to like 7K and I was really trying to get to 25K payout and took a loss. So I didn't want to, take another loss and, go back down to 4K. So I ended up taking my money, 14K payout, and, it didn't feel as great as the 10K payout, even though it was a bigger payout. But yeah, still grateful for being able to take my second payout. And now that I've taken my second payout, I have confidence that I can just repeat the actions. I know what it takes to actually be profitable day traders. So just continue that and continuing just following my rules and all that for all my next payouts. So yeah.
Mhm. Okay. Also, talk to me more about if your risk settings. So, were you setting like trade limits? Because I assume you're on Top Step, right?
Yeah. So yeah, I use Top Step. That's the only firm I've really traded with. But yeah, I have a 2 trade limit. So I have basically if I take a loss, then I'm off. But if I get break even on my first trade, then I'll look for a second trade if there is a setup. And those are really the conditions I follow. If I take one loss the first trade, then I'm off right away. I don't even look for a second trade, and then I just look for a second trade if I got break even. And then I am using the risk setting where it auto locks me out after 2 trades, and then I just got in the habit if I've taken a big loss on my XFAs for the first time, I'll just straight away auto lock out like right after a loss after it hits my stop loss just because I don't want to end up tilting and blowing all my accounts. And I haven't experienced that where I've tilted and ran through a bunch of my balance, and I don't want to feel that experience. I'm pretty sure it doesn't feel very great. So yeah, just
Yeah.
auto lock out or auto just lock yourself out after a loss. So yeah, that's helped a lot with me.
Yeah, yeah. And that's what I preach a lot as well. So, especially in this day and age when you have like the Project X platform that literally allows users to set a auto lockout limit where you can place 1, 2 trades and you physically cannot do anything about it. You physically cannot take another trade, right? Because you have to understand us as humans, like our minds are fragile. We are weak, right? We act on emotions more often than we think, right? And especially in a field like this, where emotions can play such a big factor in us either, making a good amount of money or losing a good amount of money, you if you can't handle it yourself, if you don't have power over your own emotions, control over your own emotions, well, you have something mechanical in place to help stop you from doing anything stupid. And what I tell all my other students is that set a 1 or 2 trade daily loss or daily lockout limit. And I also say to lock out of your risk settings every single day. So you can't go back into the settings and change that limit, because I remember that's what I used to do. So in order to combat that, what I would do is set a reminder, set an alarm on my phone every day at 6 p.m. open, Asia open, because there's no reason why I should be even trading at 6 p.m. Market open. So I would go into my risk settings and then I would just press lock risk settings for the day. And when I woke up in New York session, even if I wanted to overtrade or if I wanted to over leverage, I couldn't, right? And it's all about building that discipline. It's all about building those steps that are necessary. But the thing is, right, in order to do that, you need to help yourself first. You need to actually hold yourself accountable and take that first step. Otherwise, you're just going to be in that same loop over and over again, unfortunately. So now let's transition to more talking about what you're going to be doing in the future. So now you're with TopStep, you got these payouts. So what are your plans for the future? Do you want to scale with other firms? And what's your scaling plan?
So, yeah, going to the future now that, I'm going to be day trading full time, just, continue to get payouts because, 5-figure months is more than enough. But I definitely, do want to scale. I do want to try to get those max payouts where, I'm hitting 25K payouts and all that. So that's the next step going to the future. And then for now, I'm planning on just sticking with Top Step. I feel like, they don't deny payouts and all that. And I like the rules and all that. So just sticking with Top Step, build consistency over a couple months, and then eventually, maybe actually start looking to, scale with other prop firms and all that, and then just continue to, post on social media, document my journey. I started documenting my journey back when I was still unprofitable, and I like, just showing, you know, the come up and all that. So that's just the plan, just posting on YouTube and just day trading full time and eventually scale to those bigger payouts, those 25K payouts, and hopefully, just build a good amount of capital and then use that capital to, invest or, start another business if I want to. So that's the plan going into the future.
Solid, solid. That, yeah, that is pretty solid, right? I think the entire goal is, just aside from trading, is to, take these money that you're getting from prop firms and invest it, right? So you can actually stretch this money out for longer. So that's definitely smart, and also definitely looking into other businesses as well. That is definitely a very smart thing to do with your money. That is what I am doing currently with my money that I'm getting from prop firms as well. I think a lot of people, they see these payouts and they think they can, you know, um, just kind of like live off these payouts, right? They understand that trading is a skill, and they think that they can live off of prop firms. But reality is, right, what are you going to do when prop firms go away eventually, right? You're either your choice is either to move to a live account, or if you've already spent all of that money, um, that you got from prop firms, well, you're kind of cooked now, right? You don't have that capital anymore. So really, just view prop firms as a way to build capital, and then with that capital, then you expand in other areas of life. So yeah, that is definitely a good plan. Now I want to scale back a little bit actually, and just talk more about, or actually, yeah, we can just talk more about, you honestly just speaking to the people at this point. So what do you have to say to people who are trying to scale, especially? I know you started off with 5 accounts. So just tell me, or tell the people what you think about scaling, and yeah, your kind of thoughts on it.
So yeah, so with scaling, whenever, now that I'm starting to see some success, I've seen some people, coming to me, like friends, family, they're asking me, you should, put me on or, teach me, like I want to get into it. And I always tell them like, you really don't want to get into trading because, there is a big learning curve and most people just end up losing money. And I did end up, going through a lot of money when I was trying to first start out. The only reason I really tried scaling so much was because I was telling my parents, this amount of money is, you're able to make this amount of money when trading, but if you don't have a proof of concept, I recommend, don't try to scale so fast. Don't buy 5 counts at a time. I was buying 5 counts at a time, but and that was like $250 every time, and I was going through that like every week. So that was a big portion of my paychecks. And now I tell people, if you want to get into it, practice, learn a strategy first, and paper trade it, pass, act like you're simulating a demo or a eval on paper with trading good setups and all that. And then once you can actually learn strategy and all that, just start off with one account. You'll save yourself a lot of money just starting out with one account and then getting a payout first with that account, and then scaling to three accounts, then five accounts after. But if you can't do it with one account, what makes you think you can do it with five accounts? On my case, I wouldn't say I got lucky. I was still following rules, but I did blow through a lot of unnecessary money that, looking back, I wish, I could have saved a lot of money. But with these payouts, I did, make all my money back that I did spend on eval. So that was good. But definitely start out slow, because scaling too fast can put you in a worse financial position than you started out with. So yeah, that's what I have to say about scaling.
Yeah, no, that's completely valid. And that actually just leads on to going on to actually the next and final point as well. We'll wrap this off with this topic right here. So now you're at a point where you're trading five accounts and whatnot. So what are you going to do to protect your capital and make sure you don't go back to the place where you started? Because I know for me personally, that's happened once in my trading career, and it's happened to a lot of people where they think they're doing good. They get a couple five-figure months. They think they're balling. They build an ego, and then you have a bad month, and then you're back to square one. You tilt, you blow money on evals. That's happened to me personally, um, and then you go back to square one. So how are you going to make sure that doesn't happen to you?
Yeah, so now that I've got my second pay with my accounts, I just want to make sure I just continue to stay disciplined. Try not to rush the process. You talking about like building ego, I know what you're talking about, because when you go on a couple of win streaks, you start thinking you can't lose, and then the market always humbles you. You'll take a trade that doesn't even line with your strategy, and that kind of gives you a wake up call. Like, damn, I need to continue to follow my plan and my strategy and all that. So to be able to keep my accounts, I'm just gonna continue to journal, um, making sure that I just try to, I like to just during December at least. I've heard price action may not be the best, but I just go into the day and just remind myself that if my setup's not there, don't take the trade. Journal, even if you don't take a trade, journal why you didn't take a trade, and just being able to understand when there's bad market conditions and when to actually stay out the market, because I'm just trying to preserve my capital. I don't want to go back to going back. I don't want to go back to evals until I actually have to I'm getting close to my next couple of payouts. I want to take one or two more payouts at least on these accounts, and yeah, I just don't want to go back to evals, because I know the psychological effect of being on evals. You're trying to rush the process of getting past those evals. You want to start making money with the real exit phase, and that can just lead to you taking worse trades and blowing through money on evals. So I'm just gonna make sure my risks are good. Make sure continue to just lock out. Don't over risk too heavy on my trades. I'm still risking heavy on my trades, but it's still like a 3 to 4 trade buffer with my drawdown. Just because I don't think, if I'm following my system, I shouldn't lose 4 trades in a row, really. And if I just keep following that system, then I should be able to, continue to take payouts. And, after every loss, just continue to journal it. Ask myself if I followed the system, or if it was more of a, discipline issue where I'm not actually following my rules and all that. And if it's a discipline issue, then just really, hone in on my psychology. And if I just hone in with that, I'll continue to get payouts. I've got the proof of concept, and it's just all a psychological battle with trading. Really, it's just the strategy is the easy part. It's all getting over that mental battle was what really got me to being able to get to my first payout. And you know, just once you got the proof of concept, you should be able to continue. And there's gonna be ups and downs in the journey. Um, and you just got to persevere through it, look at the end goal, and know what you're really like, why you're working and why you're trying to make trading work and all that. So if you that was what it was for me. I knew I didn't want to work that job. I knew trading was very scalable, and that's what kept me going when I was at those low points, trying to learn how to trade and all that. So, yeah, my final advice: just don't give up because it's definitely worth it. It's definitely possible, and you guys can make it happen if you just put in the work and just really reflect on the actions that you're taking when you're trading and all that. So. And I just want to, say I give it up to AB. If I didn't drop my ego, I really don't think I'd be in the position that I'm at without AB because he really gave me a set strategy, a set like system that I need to be looking for every day. And then now that, I've gone two payouts, I'm not really active in his group anymore. I kind of, go into the day. He gave me
You
the
went Hollywood, bro. You went Hollywood.
I'll still check in here and there. And I'll just, he's gave me the system that I need to be able to trade on my own without, AB's help. And if I do, take a loss one day, I'll go back, reflect it, but I'll look at his market recap. But he's gave me my own discretion to be able to trade on my own without actually, looking for people's help and all that. So I appreciate him for guiding me in the right direction.
Yeah, man. I mean, I got you, bro. But at the end of the day, man, it's you. You're the one who actually took action. So, you can give me credit all you want, but you actually decided to make the change, right? And so props to you for that. And yeah, man, thanks for coming on here, doing an interview with me. Definitely helped a lot of people sharing your story. But yeah, man, we got big things coming up for James. I'm excited to see what's next for you, bro. Super, super proud of you. And yeah, bro, just keep up the good work, man.
Man, I appreciate it.
All right, guys. So see you guys in the next video then. Peace.